What's good, YouTube? Somebody asked me, what do you think about a man who doesn't want to share why he got divorced and says he will tell you in the future? When meeting someone new, it's pretty important to me to know roughly the background, but not answering anything about it is weird to me. It's asking me to trust him without actually trying to build trust. Not sharing anything regarding divorce is a red flag, right? Absolutely. In general, you want to make sure that people understand where they went wrong in relationships. You also want to make sure and establish that they have a sense of accountability and personal responsibility, not only to their relationships, their old partners, but the results of their lives. Too often when people are trying to mask or hide their experiences or the reasoning that they had, even, in their old lives or in their old relationships, it's because they haven't learned the lesson. They're still protecting themselves from guilt. They're still protecting the perception. And sometimes when a person is more concerned with the perception of who they are than who they actually are, than their real growth, their real evolution, their real learning and growing process, then it's a red flag, because it means that person might not be capable of growth. They might not have the bandwidth to have learned the lessons necessary to show up to you in your new relationship as a new partner, more healthy and more whole than they were when they were damaging someone or being damaged by someone in an old relationship. It's always a red flag to me when people are mum on their old decisions and their own situations. Sometimes men are taught, and people in general are taught, to not talk about their old relationships because it can make it look like they're still hooked up on somebody. And so dating coaches oftentimes say, hey, don't talk about old relationships. Just, be vague, be this, be that. But if somebody explicitly asks you a question about your old relationship and you're elusive, or in this case, he's being elusive, then it makes you untrustworthy. And again, trust is earned, not given. I don't give a damn who you are. People often ask me, how do I develop trust for people? How do I trust again? How do I trust again? I've been hurt. How do I trust again? First of all, you only trust yourself. And if you can't trust yourself to love you, to protect you, to do what's necessary, to step away from toxic shit, then you can't trust anybody. But it's not about trusting new people because they're strangers. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be able to trust yourself. Trust yourself to make the right decisions, right? And make a person earn your trust over time through their transparency and through their words, certifying and seconding and supporting their actions, right? Meaning, yes, I hear who you tell me you are. I get it. But if it's not what you've shown me, then whatever that conversation was, whatever words you used to describe yourself, how great you were, how much you were a perfectionist, all of that shit, people can say anything. All of that is null and void. Their words should confirm their actions. Oh, I noticed that in you. I saw you do that. That's why. When they're describing themselves, you should be looking for the illustrations of these words that they use to describe themselves, whether it's their evolution, whether it's their growth, whether it's their sense of responsibility or loyalty or patience or personality types or intellectual ability. You should be able to observe those things. Their words by themselves don't mean anything. A person's integrity, morals, values, and principles are not what they say, it's what they do. Their actions are those things. So they should always be an illustration of those things. And then when you have a conversation with someone, yeah, they can tell you about who they are, and then you can believe them. So it's not about trust. So when this man is not telling you what his experiences were, what he's learned from those experiences, how those experiences have grown him and evolved him, yeah, he might just not trying to talk about old relationships because dating coaches always tell people, oh, don't talk about exes. But he also could be trying to hide the fact that he's done something sinister or dark or dishonorable. He could also be trying to hide the fact that he's implemented a great deal of toxic behavior into his relationships. He could also have a sense of detachment from the responsibility that he's had in his own life experiences. Maybe he doesn't want to lie about what's happened, but it was a little too dark to share with you without you first having feelings for him. We don't know. I'm not assuming that he's done anything wrong in his old relationship, but it definitely is a red flag that a person has a past so dark or so troubled or so misunderstandable that they don't want to share it. Not sharing anything regarding your divorce when it was such a significant portion of your life, the marriage, the relationship, the commitment, being broken. Not sharing anything regarding something as important as that makes me raise my eyebrow a little bit, just because I don't know what the reasoning for you not wanting to talk about it is, unless you're still affected by it or you've done something pretty terrible that you don't think I would forgive you as a person unfamiliar with who you are today. You think I would judge you for it now. No, you cannot trust a person without actually building trust. And yes, trust happens through conversation. Unfortunately, people hear the right words and trust, but you have to also observe them. So what you've observed and what you've heard from him should be one and the same. They should mesh together. His words are less weighty and less powerful, but his recollection of his experiences are very powerful, because at least it shows his mindset around his old relationships, whether they were good or bad. Maybe he's still a little bit emotional about it. Maybe he's ashamed of it. But at some point, you need to learn that before you decide you have feelings and emotions for him. It would be foolish of you to let yourself fall for this man without that information. Now, with that said, I do want to acknowledge that maybe that's not first date conversation. Maybe that's second or third date conversation. So maybe he has a boundary or a standard around, establishing a rapport in the absence of those influences with you first. So I can get it and I can respect that. But at some point, you need that information. And so I would ask for how long it takes for him to feel comfortable sharing that information. What type of timeline are we looking at? Sometimes we're trying too hard to be cool with people who aren't necessarily being cool with us, who are just putting roadblocks in front of us because they can. You at least have to explain your reasoning if you won't explain the thing. If you don't want a person to mistrust you. If you don't care if they trust you, that's fine. If you're not sold on them and you don't know if you even like them enough yet, that's also fine. You don't have to share anything, but understand and trust that people will judge all things regardless. Just like you're coming to me, asking me if you can trust a person who's not going to share or divulge that information. He has the right to not divulge it, but you have the right to judge that. You have a right to judge that missing information and be suspicious. Just like if a woman doesn't want to respond to something or give any information out. Just like the body count thing. You have every right to say it's none of your business. You absolutely do. But a man has every right to not trust you for that or to make his own assumptions because there's missing information, which the brain does anyway. Neurologically, you cannot avoid trying to fill in the blank. That's how the brain functions. So again, that's his right not to discuss it. I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to hold that information for himself, but it is a red flag when people don't want to discuss things because in general, it means there's some guilt, some shame, or some emotional attachment that might be seen or observed in what they might have to describe. Unfortunately enough, if you're a wise person, you judge all things. You're paying attention, you're observing, and you have to compute that regardless, whether or not they give you the information or not. You still have a feeling and a thought about it. That's human nature. So yes, it's a red flag. Hopefully you get that information before you find yourself to be hooked on them or in love with them or anything like that. But if you're in a position where you don't want to share something, please don't dismiss the person asking. Try to give them some reasoning that gives them a little bit of solace until the time that you do want to share it. And if it's never going to be any of their business, that's fine. But again, they have the right to judge you for that, just like you might be judging this man. Anyway, I hope that helps. Follow me at KFIG24 on Instagram. Please share my videos if you think they're helpful. If you don't want to share them with friends or family or on your public social media, you can send them to media outlets if you feel like I have a hot take that you might want to see go viral or something. So there are a lot of ways to share content. Don't forget that. Please hit the notification bell if you are subscribed. And if you do watch me and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, get notified when I drop new content. Follow me at KFIG24 on Instagram. I think I already said that. I'll get with y'all later.